Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Nate.
And I'm Mike.
And today, we're here to talk about a little trip that we recently took.
Nate and I had the honor to serve as first delegate and second delegate at the Knights of Columbus Michigan State Convention on Mackinac Island.
Yes, this was my first time going.
My second.
And Mike's second. And we had been duly elected by our council to represent them in the at the convention. There was some business to conduct. There was some official business to conduct, rather as opposed to the every other year where people just kind of show up.
So this is the most important convention because competitive elections were being held.
Yes.
So the way things work in the Knights of Columbus is a little hinky in that officers are elected for 1-year terms, but by tradition, you serve two consecutive 1-year terms.
Yes.
I don't know why we're not just elected for 2-year terms.
I presume so that in the event that you have somebody that needs to get run out on a rail,
sure,
it's easier to do so.
Fair. Instead of having to do like a recall process.
Exactly. You simply wait until you simply go and find somebody else to run against them, and then in that 1 year when they thought they weren't going to have to run against anybody, they have to actually.
So in these even-numbered years, the state officers are all elected to new positions.
Yes, and for at least for Michigan State Council, although I assume it's probably similar for other states.
I presume.
The way that it works is that there are 5 officers, each serving 2-year term, each serving 2 1-year terms in their role, and the tradition is that they cycle through.
A succession of chairs.
So the person who's in the second to top spot will become the top spot, and everybody above him, everybody below them will follow in suit, thus vacating the lowest spot on that executive board.
The state warden becomes the state advocate becomes the state treasurer becomes the state secretary,
and the
state secretary becomes the state deputy. The deputy is running for an office to be a supreme director, so wish him luck.
Yes. So, it was a wonderful time. It was essentially 3 days, but realistically it was probably closer to about 48 hours.
From Wednesday afternoon until Friday morning.
Yeah. So, we started about 4 o'clock-ish on Wednesday.
Started with Mass with all of Michigan's bishops. Well,
all the bishops. No, almost,
I'm not sure that all of the Detroit auxiliaries were there.
All right, so we didn't have all the bishops celebrated.
Apparently, there's 4 or 5 auxiliaries in Detroit.
But we did have the Archbishop of the Archdiocese of Detroit. We had, as well as the bishops of Lansing, Kalamazoo, Saginaw, Grand Rapids, Gaylord, and Marquette. 7 bishops in total.
Plus various auxiliaries from Detroit.
Yep.
It's really
and
cool.
A huge collection of priests. My goodness. Should anybody have, to my knowledge, nobody suffered any mortal issues while we were there. But had there been anybody who suddenly found themselves at death's door, they might literally have had their choice of who gives them last rites.
Excuse me. I'd like viaticum from the Archbishop if possible. I'm sorry, he's busy.
By the way, I think, currently speaking, my top 3 choices are our Bishop Boyer, Earl Boyer,
Most Reverend Earl Boyer, fifth Bishop of Lansing.
Number 2, and this is going to be weird because I'm going to go a little out of order here.
Okay.
Father Zach Mabey.
Sure. Who's extraordinarily tall.
He's extraordinarily tall, and he's a fantastic guy.
He's a great priest.
I've really enjoyed the few occasions when I've gotten to chat and get to know him better.
10 out of 10 recommend.
Absolutely. And then third, and I apologize because I don't remember his name. The recently elected bishop of the Diocese of Kalamazoo. He did. I really enjoyed his homily on Thursday morning. And I just, if I had to choose.
No, his homily was Friday morning.
Was it Friday?
Because remember, the really convicting homily by Bishop Dorfler was Thursday morning.
Right, you're right. That was the Bishop of Marquette Thursday morning. Yes. So yes, Friday morning. I really enjoyed his homily though as well. So, so on that note, as you could probably guess, while we were there, for each of the 3 calendar days that we were there, we got to participate in a mass.
Woo!
Which is fantastic because really, if you think about it, we did like 3 masses in like 2 days,
and
each one of them was canonically licit
and a full hour. Now, Nate and I are creatures of habit, so the first day we found seats behind the choir, and then we stuck to that.
We stuck with that
for every subsequent mass,
and hopefully our voices lended to, as opposed to detracted from, the beautiful noise that they made.
Amen. Though we didn't know all the Latin chants, so we mostly didn't do those.
No, but they had the. Typically speaking, the state deputy's home pastor is also their state chaplain, and for his final time as state deputy, they brought along his church's choir to sing along. So that was the Grotto of
Assumption?
The Blessed Assumption of Mary, they did a fantastic job. Really, really did a good job of lending to the experience as opposed to just kind of being there at the experience at the mass.
And good news, no on Eagle's Wings.
No on Eagle's Wings. That was fantastic.
So, aside from the liturgies, which were glorious, there were also confessions available, though I didn't avail myself.
We got there a little late.
There was
for confession.
There were some opportunities for adoration.
There were some opportunities for adoration. We once again we did not quite have the opportunity. For the convention, for the most part, takes place in the Grand Hotel there on Mackinac. But for the majority of people who are there, everybody stays in hotels and inns that are down on the front street. And so getting up to the Grand Hotel is a bit of a hike.
The schedule really is made for those who are staying in the Grand. So for those of us who don't have the opportunity, because there's only a limited number of rooms in the Grand and there's more people that attend, so they have to very carefully ration out those rooms. No criticism involved, just simply stating. So we had to budget our time differently
than some of the other people that were there, yes.
Yeah.
But there was let's see. But yes, there was adoration, there was confession, there was the Living Rosary,
which was great.
I really think, as far as worshipful stuff that you could really expect to have there regarding the Eucharist and things like that, the only thing that they were missing was a Eucharistic procession.
Sure, but given how much walking we ourselves did,
it would have been it would have been prohibitive to do, especially because this is a tourist destination leading into the start of tourist season. So the streets that are not driven on by cars, because there are almost no cars at all on the island.
I only saw
almost no motor vehicles, I should say.
The only
one we saw was an ambulance.
Was an ambulance taking a stricken woman away.
Yes, but nobody we knew, just somebody who clearly had a medical emergency while they were touristing.
It would have been great. The Main Street is crazy with all the day trippers, kids running around, bikes everywhere. And then all of a sudden a Eucharistic procession. That would have been awesome.
It would have been awesome. It would have been a little hectic.
Would have been great.
Although we definitely would have had enough. We definitely would have had enough nights in the color guard though, because there were at least 60 of those guys.
Yes, although I will say the charm of Mackinac Island is that there's no motor vehicles, so people get around by bicycle, foot, or by horse, and it's charming. I mean, really, the island is not great for little kids because there's a lot of walking. But
a lot of walking.
But for grown-ups, it's fantastic. I will say, one obstacle to a Eucharistic procession is the fact that there's horses in the streets.
Oh, yeah, all over the place. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but there's enough of it that they have a guy whose entire job is to go around and sweep up all the horse poop.
Again, just like in old-timey days.
Yeah.
So, try to do a Eucharistic procession around that.
Yeah. But we arrived to Mackinac City, which is on the mainland, about middle of Wednesday. We took a very nice ferry ride in.
Just missed the previous ferry, so we had to wait an hour for the next one.
Yeah, that was a little unfortunate, but
the ferry is great, especially because the water was a little choppy that day. So we're standing up the front.
Yeah, we were up on the upper deck, holding on to the rail and just standing there enjoying the ride.
We're simple men. We take our pleasures where we can get them.
We do.
But except for that first day when it was cloudy, the rest, it was gorgeous. My previous trip to Mackinac, I experienced the hardest rain I've ever experienced. You're walking through that multiple times. This time, clear and beautiful. And very nice because you're in northern Michigan. It was a little cool, which made the fact that you're walking everywhere less onerous.
Yeah. And because the main draw to Mackinac Island is Fort Mackinac, which was a military fort in the 19th century. Everything there, well, not necessarily periodish, they do very much try to be. They try to be more in keeping, much like with the no motor vehicles. They try to keep things a little more in like the older fashioned kind of a thing. So like Mike had a hotel that
just a little frozen in time.
Yeah, Mike had a hotel that actually still had physical keys.
It's great. Nate, as a hotelier, found this utterly perplexing.
Yeah, Nate, as a hotelier, went and said, "Oh my goodness, I need to get
All
in
I
there.
could think about is
I need to get in there
wrong.
and fix everything that they're doing wrong."
I thought it was charming.
He thought it was charming. I simply thought of all the ways that goes horribly, horribly wrong. My hotel had electronic keys, so I was comfortable with that. Very nice, quaint little room. It was relatively Spartan, yet at the same time very enjoyable.
Now, I do have to mention the most unsettling part of the weekend.
The meetings?
No, the fact that we were stalked.
Yes, we were stalked.
So the first evening, we met a night.
We went to mass. And then it was time to take a break for dinner
before the opening
meeting. So we were walking back towards the high street to go find a restaurant. We came across this nice little place that served Detroit style pizza, and we said, "Well, sign us up." We split a pizza, and we got ourselves seats at this big table that was made to this big high top table was made to seat like 8 people.
And here. We must note, it had been an explicit point made that we would be open to meeting new people.
Yes. Given that we had a table that had 6 available seats with like plenty of room so it wouldn't be like crowded. I mean, it was easily 6 available seats.
It's meant for this. 4 big long sides on this table with a lovely lazy Susan in the middle.
If you wanted to squeeze people in, you could have fit 12 people around this table.
Seriously.
But
so 8 no problem.
And we sat down and we were the only ones at this table, and I said, we should make a point to be open. That if there's somebody God wants us to have a conversation with, they'll just show up. We're not putting him to the test, mind you. He does not have to provide us with anybody. We are more than comfortable being here by ourselves. But if there is somebody that he felt could benefit from an encounter with us, or that we could benefit from an encounter with them...
More likely.
More likely. I mean, let's be honest. We need all the help we can get. That we would make ourselves open to encounter whoever else sat down at this table.
And before you know it, we were sitting with Tom and his wife.
Yep. Our apologies to Tom's wife.
We're so sorry.
We don't remember her name.
She introduced herself, and we forgot, and after that we were too embarrassed
embarrassed to ask.
But the great part is...
we ran it, but aside from the places where we would expect to run into them, we kept encountering them at other places.
So we were there at we had that lovely dinner the first evening, and then at registration.
Yeah, we bumped, which wasn't that surprising because we talked at dinner about how we all still needed to go and register.
But then, later I ran into Tom and his financial secretary, who had ironed out a little wrinkle they'd had in registration, and he had quite some colorful language for how they resolved that situation. But then Friday, we're just walking down the hill, and all of a sudden,
Thursday.
You're right, Thursday. Sorry.
Thursday, we opted not to go to the banquet. Mm-hmm. And to just go have dinner on our own, we went and we found a nice little restaurant where we were having dinner. And all of a sudden, who should walk in but Tom and his wife
in the same restaurant?
In the same restaurant. I mean, it's a small place. It's a limited number of people. It's not like this is impossible. But then Friday, we're walking down the hill, and there they are in a carriage going up the hill,
just shouting out, "Hey,
Nate! Hey guys!"
No, it was definitely "Hey Nate."
Yeah, it was "Hey Nate." And of course I'm taken back for a moment because I'm forgetting all the people I've met while on the island and thinking to myself, who knows I'm here?
It just takes a minute to register.
And then see Tom and immediately register Tom's wife as being the other person in the carriage. And
we're so sorry.
So sorry. If I don't, I have a problem. I'm really good at remembering names, but I have to use the name a lot.
If you're Tom and his wife, comment below with her name, and we really are very sorry.
And we really are very sorry. So then, later on Friday, the convention was over. We had gone and gotten ourselves some lunch. Mm-hmm. I'd had to run back up to the Grand Hotel because I apparently had dropped my coat in one of the rooms. But I found it, so I was okay. Mm-hmm. And I get back down, and we're getting into line for the ferry to take us back to the mainland. And who do we see in line for the ferry but Tom and his wife again?
Mm-hmm. Now, again, yes, we understand.
It's a small island.
Most people are going on the ferry to Mackinac City, not to St. Ignace, but really, they were on the exact same ferry as us. They could have been on an earlier one or a later one.
We're willing to understand. It's a small island. There's a limited population. You're bound to rerun into some people. But it just made for a fun little joke for us to have.
Well,
we get off the ferry. We get to our car. We're driving back home, and every time we make a stop, we just make a point to go and say, if we see them here, they are definitely stalking us.
But we did not run into them at the crossing.
We did not run into them after we left the ferry.
Now, to speak of it being a very small island, when we're coming up on Wednesday, on the same ferry with us, going through security, just ahead of us, just getting our ticket checked. Ahead of us are two girls who work on the island. And they've got a cart, and it's loaded with all kinds of stuff, and it's overloaded, and it's unbalanced, and bags keep falling off. And it's like tragicomic. This just keeps happening.
It was really unfortunate. I mean, we did our best to help them to the extent that they were willing to accept our help. And there were other individuals who also helped them. But they've got this cart. It's tragically off balance. It's way overfilled. And every single time this cart hit a bump, stuff fell off. And, the worst thing was the fact that when the ferry gets to Mackinac Island, there is a fairly steep incline up the ramp to get off the boat and onto the dock. And these two ladies ended up getting a couple of other gentlemen, presumably knights, offered to help push this cart up the ramp because there was just no way they were pulling that cart up that ramp as it was. Mm-hmm. But we did have the opportunity to run into them later on in the week.
Yeah, so this is Wednesday. On Thursday, we walk into a restaurant to have some lunch, and the girl says, "Hey, do you remember me from yesterday?" Everything.
Yes, we do. Out. And she's like, "Yeah, everything worked out. We got to our place." Her and her friend were seasonal workers, so basically they had a cart that they had to get like all their stuff into because once again it's an island. Mm-hmm. So basically you have with you what you bring with you, or you're going to have to take a day to go back to the mainland to go get it and come back again.
Mm-hmm. Delightfully small island.
It was a delightfully small island, but there were a lot of really nice restaurants. Mm-hmm. There were some great shops. Mm-hmm. I had the opportunity to get some some of the legendary Mackinac Island fudge.
It is amazing.
It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. I've enjoyed I've enjoyed a little bit of it since I got home. I plan on enjoying it a little bit more of it later.
He's rationing it out.
Exactly. You got to make that stuff last.
Absolutely. Especially as expensive it is.
To which I would say I probably need to take some of it and actually package it and seal it and put it in the freezer so it lasts just a little bit longer.
Now that's using the old noodle.
But that is, for the most part, the culmination of our trip. We came, we went, we saw, we represented our council in all the things that our council needed representing in.
Mm-hmm. I would only mention one more thing.
Okay, just one.
Yes. So, good time had by all. It was great to be there with our brother knights.
Mm-hmm.
But in one of the state officer elections, there was drama.
Yes.
So, in most of the positions, the guy is just moving up a seat.
Yep, no competition. It's pure acclamation. But somebody gets nominated, nobody else gets nominated. Everybody agrees to accept the only one who was nominated, move on with business.
But there are two guys running for the lowest office, state warden.
One person.
Now again, unless there's either scandal or you die, once elected state warden, you
inevitably march your way all the way up to the top.
To state deputy.
But one guy had, I think this was his third, at least, it was his third attempt.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is an upstart. First time around.
But he has the institutional support.
Yeah.
Again, there's a hierarchy in the Knights of Columbus. There's your council, and then there's officers above that. So these guys have both served in those kinds of offices and done all the things knights are supposed to. And there are some guys in the state hierarchy who support, the younger of the two candidates, the one running for the first time. He's from our diocese, so there's a little bit of homerism going on.
From our diocese, he's been from our district at times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was fairly familiar with him.
I know the guy, not well, but I've met him.
But known him well enough that if I walked up and said, "Hey," he wouldn't be like, "And you are?"
Yeah, he wouldn't know your name, but he'd be like, "Oh, hey."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Again, that's why we put our names. That's why we put our names on our shirts.
He does. I don't have a name on this one.
No worries. But so the conventional wisdom now is that the upstart has the edge over the also-ran or the striver.
Partially because he is an also-ran. He's already been passed over time before, so
I remember him from the last time I was on the
there was
island.
probably reason to pass him over the last time, so there might very well be reason to pass him over this time.
So that appears to be the general feeling. It's not going to be a runaway, but the upstart probably has the advantage. He gets nominated, everything's going fine, but then the energy changes. Because the multi-year candidate has a guy stand up and cede his time for nomination to the Bishop of Gaylord.
Yep.
And just ripple of excitement went through the whole room. Everyone was excited and just... Yeah, I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do. All I know is
it just changed the feel of the room.
I'm really excited that I could be there for that.
Yeah, I have to agree. It really did change the feel of the competition there,
and it really it made me appreciate more conventions. Like back in the day, in American politics, things weren't determined so much by primaries, but by the conventions, the famous smoke-filled rooms. Now I understand much better how suddenly a dark horse candidate can just really excite the whole room and change everything. So, folks, let me tell you, if you ever have the opportunity to run for anything, just try something bold.
Yeah.
You never know. It might work out for you. So, that was our adventure at this year's state convention.
Now, stay tuned to the Popish plot, because it's not the end of it. It is the end of our time at the convention, but it is not the end of the story.
We had an adventure on the way home.
Yes.
So, comment below with your favorite experience on Mackinac Island / your favorite fudge shop.
If you have, it doesn't have to be a Mackinac Island fudge shop. If you have a favorite fudge shop, let us know.
We're taking recommendations. We're looking for fudge. Give this episode a like, subscribe to our channel, ring the church bell to be notified when the story of our next adventure is posted.
And until next time, remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
Share that love.